Hi, this is Susan with Florida Future Realty again. Today we want to talk about what happens after your short sale is listed. So after myself or one of my agents comes to your house, takes the photos, put the signs, the lockbox, gets it in the MLS, we begin to market the property on all of our different websites and all of the different contacts that we have, and then you will start having showings on the property. If you are still living in the house, we do ask that you keep your house in a very show-ready fashion so that we can, easily show the property at any given time. Sometimes we do get notice, maybe 4 hours, maybe a day's notice, but a lot of times people have customers that want to see your house right now. So the easier that it is for us to get into your house for showing appointments, the quicker we're going to get you an offer. So we do ask that you try to keep that in mind. After we do have, several showings, we will potentially have an offer on your property. As long as the offer that we receive is within a range of market value, we're going to suggest that you go ahead and accept that. It is ultimately up to you as the seller what offer you want to go with. Once you have signed an offer, it now becomes a contract, and we will need all of your financial documents updated. Typically speaking, that will mean a revised financial statement if it has changed since the initial one that we received. It'll also be your last 30 days paycheck stubs and your last 2 months bank statements. So be prepared to have those ready for us within, a short period of time, preferably within 24 hours of signing a contract. At that point, the property will be marked active, contingent, short sale in our MLS. We will put a note in there that backups are welcomed. However, if new offers come in, they'll only be held in backup status. We're only going to present one contract to your lender. So we submit the full package, and a lot of times it's 30 to 50 pages by the time we have everything submitted to the lender. At that point, it's really just calling and following up with the bank, make sure they receive everything, finding out what the next step is. Typically speaking, after they've received all of the documents, they're going to order what is called a BPO or an appraisal. BPO stands for Broker's Price Opinion, and of course an appraisal you're probably familiar with. Either way, someone will need to get into the property to do a valuation for the bank. Sometimes they have 1 or 2 different people do that. So if you have 2 loans, you'll also probably have 2 to 4 people out for that as well. So then after they get the value back in and they look at everything and it's within the range of what they're looking to receive, then they say that it's kind of like pre-approved from the servicer, and then they submit everything either to the investor and or if you have mortgage insurance, that company also. At that point, it could be another 2 to 4 weeks before we hear back from the actual owner of your loan to make sure that they're going to approve it. They could come back and just say, yes, it's approved, that's great. They could come back and say that they want you to sign a promissory note for some or all of the difference. They could ask you for a cash contribution at closing. They could agree for a short sale, but say that they could still seek, the remainder of the loan at a future date. So we're going to look at that document really carefully. We're going to give you a copy of it as soon as we do receive it. You can review it with your attorney. If you want us to try to negotiate any of the verbiage, we can go back to the bank and ask them. Some of the lenders, this is what it's going to be. They're not willing to change any of the verbiage, and then you either decide, do you want to move forward with it with those terms, or do you want to let it go to foreclosure? And again, that's a personal decision you do need to make on your own. If we can get the verbiage changed to make everyone happy, then of course, we would do that for you. However, there are no guarantees that we can get the lender to change their verbiage. At that point, if you do agree to all the terms, and we would send a copy over to the buyer's agent so the buyer knows that everything's approved, the buyer still has their right to inspect the property. We try to get the buyer to inspect the property at the time of contract, but a lot of times they don't want to do that until it's actually approved because they don't want to put the money out there unless they know for sure that the bank's going to approve the deal. So at that point, they get to do their home inspection. They usually have about 7 to 10 days for that. So they would go ahead and inspect it. Now, if there are any problems, you are not obligated to fix anything. They could decide then that they do not want to purchase the home, though. So if we're talking little minor things, you might want to go ahead and fix them if you are able to, or they might just say, yep, that's fine. There's so little that there's no issues. If they find something major, they may back out of the deal. At this point, it's really they could back out for any reason, unfortunately. So even if the inspection comes back great, they could still just say they don't want the property. I would say that, 1 out of every 3 contracts that we have ends up falling apart and we end up having to sell your house again. So be prepared that this is a possibility. We do everything we can to keep, the buyer still, on the hook, but a lot of times, they're looking at other properties too. They're seeing other things come on the market as they wait, so sometimes that could fall apart. If it does, then we start over again with showing the property if we don't have any backup offers, and the process begins. If they do want to still continue to buy the house, usually within the next 2 to 4 weeks we will have a closing. The closing will be just like any other closing on a property. You don't have to be there for it. The title company can mail you the package to sign and send back. If you do have to come with any funds at closing, you could wire those directly to the title company from wherever you're at. Or if you're local, you can definitely go to the title company and sit there at the closing table with everyone and do the closing that way. So that's pretty much the gist of what happens from listing to closing. Of course, on our end, there's a lot of work that we're doing to negotiate the short sale and follow up with the lender, and we may have to ask you for more documents throughout the process. A lot of times the bank doesn't actually look at your paperwork for 30 to 60 days after we submitted it, and then they say, oh, all the documents are outdated, so then we might come back to you and say we need updated documents again. But that's usually a good thing when they're asking for more documents. It means that someone's actually looking at the file, they're working it, so we want to move as quickly as we can whenever they do ask for things. Again, my name is Susan Milner with Florida Future Realty. You can find us at 2816 Del Prado Boulevard South, Unit 2 in Cape Coral, Florida. You can also call us at 239-542-8521 or email us at inquiry@floridafutureagents.com. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Thanks, and make it a great day.